Hello. Why should you care what I have to say at all? I just finished my 100th run with 84 wins total, and a 22 win streak is my highest. So I think it's safe to say I have a really good understanding of most everything in the game. I've talked to a good few people that are around my level as well before doing this and found pretty much everyone has the same opinion. So I'm definitely curious to hear what other people think, especially people that are they're not quite as good at the game, because I could imagine these rankings change pretty substantially depending on skill level. So to start, the absolute worst class is Revenant, and it's not even close. Revenant suffers from unique problems that no one else suffers from. The biggest issue is she is the most RNG dependent character, just period. So Recluse is also super RNG dependent, but the mage towers give her a guaranteed way to filter down what she's looking for. If Revenant does not get a good starter, efficient incantation within the first minute or two of the run, those first like churches when you're gathering stone sword keys to farm Evergoals for the damage buff, she's basically just fucked. She will never be as good as she really should be. Because also, unlike every other character, because she's so starved for her FP, that you really just want to steer away from using things that drop later in the run. And she's like the only character that really has this problem. There's no dedicated source to get her drops. There is no way to make use of drops that come later in the run. She is basically ride or die within the first like 30% of day one. She's either going to have a really good run and be pretty decent, or she's going to get crap and be pretty useless. Her abilities are not great. Her ultimate is good if people are needing it, I guess. But like when I'm playing with my friends, we just routinely will play for 5, 6 hours completely deathless, so it does nothing. The summon skill is cool, I guess, but again, it's better to just kill things faster with any other ability. The next worst character is Guardian, but Guardian is automatically better than Revenant by an entire tier, just for the fact that he at least does something. The problem is the things that he does are just not valuable at all. Tanking has never really been a playstyle in Souls games. This is where I said at the start, I imagine these rankings would look very different the worse you are at the game, because I think Guardian would probably be really good. Guardian is one of those characters where his level of power is inverse to the skill curve. Because the less proficient you are at the boss's moveset and dodging and all that, the more important the ability to just stand and block and heal people becomes. However, the more familiar you are with the game and the better you get at it, the more Guardian's just a burden. He doesn't provide as much damage as everyone else. He doesn't provide as much utility as everyone else. And if you are comfortable, your whole team, just dodging the boss, then what does he really bring? Nothing. If no one's going down and you don't need to heal them with the ultimate, and you don't need to stand there and block, he's basically just like playing with two teammates while one guy stands there and pretends to be useful. I will say though, if you are playing with random people, he's probably like fucking up here. I could imagine him becoming just massively useful if you have to play with the random people on the internet. So the third worst character is Recluse. Now I would like to put a gigantic asterisk here. If you get good RNG, she's like up here, like upper A, lower S tier. So what makes Recluse not great is the same problem as Revenant, and it's RNG. If Recluse early on gets just a really good spell, she just snowballs and becomes unstoppable. The problem is, how often are you actually getting that? You know? She is, for all intents and purposes, a great character that is completely held back by the fact that she really needs to go out of her way to hit those rise towers. And this is a problem Revenant suffers as well. The best relic roll in the entire game for both of these characters is the 18% max FP increase for every rise tower you do. So you do like 2 rise towers and you're getting like 400 more FP. It's ridiculous. So you kind of have to do it, and you especially have to do it because that's how she gets most of her good gear. The problem is nobody else gives a fuck and nobody else wants to do that. So this means the entire like half of day 1 with a revenant, or I'm sorry, with a recluse, is either them off doing their own thing and you having to two-man things, or her sticking with the group and not getting the thing she really needs and just hoping for really low odds to roll in her favor. Now, if a mage tower is in the way, or if she gets lucky, she is easily one of the best characters in the game. However, a big part of these rankings for me is how consistently, if you put a gun to my head and said, go win 15 games in a row or you're dead, consistency matters so much. And the fact that sometimes she can just get garbage and be way less effective, that hurts her ranking quite a lot. But that's one of those characters where if you told me you think she's one of the best, I'd say, yeah, she definitely has moments like that. Okay, the next three are all interchangeable because they're all various forms of John Elden Ring. Though they definitely line up like this. Executioner's the worst, Raider's the middle, and Wilder's the best. And there's very specific reasons for this. Executioner is by far and away the worst of the John Elden Ring trilogy because his two abilities are garbage. Curse Blade is really cool and very aura farming kind of thing, but watch any clip of someone parrying like 5 attacks with it in a row, and if you're like really proficient at the boss fight, you just kind of recognize, hey, you could have just rolled that, and instead of just standing there waiting for the deflect, in between those gaps, you could be doing R1s, which would be incredibly useful rather than just standing there waiting for deflect. It's a great defensive tool. The problem is it's just not a valuable one because very few enemies are actually multi-hitting enough that you care about doing this. And if you want some evidence of this, watch some great players do their runs, like Ongbal, for example. They pull the Mortal Blade out like twice. I think in his video, he only used it 3 times the entire run. And when people are doing no-hitting on bosses, they just don't use it at all because it's not Sekiro. It's just not useful. The other problem is the damage on the Cursed Blade is fucking dog shit. And really, you would make this class would jump all the way up to like here if you just fix the Cursed Blade. Because doing an attack with the Cursed Blade is terrible. It's the equivalent of a white weapon. It has, like, no scaling. You cannot upgrade it. There's, like, nothing you can do to help its damage. It doesn't even take your weapon's armaments. Or, I'm sorry, your affinities. So, like, if you're running the Bleed Frost setup, which you absolutely should, I'll talk about that in a second. If you're running the Bleed Frost setup, then the Cursed Blade just doesn't get that at all. So, like... okay, it has no synergy with the best way to play the character, you know? Second off, the charged attack is not good. At level 15 baseline, it does about 360 damage. With a purple katana, at level 15, your R1s are hitting for a flat like 270, 300-ish damage in that ballpark, once you consider two-handed passives or power stance or all that stuff. But you'll also be building Cold and Bleed, which are status effects that do gigantic damage. So let's say Cold and Bleed are going to proc for 1,000 damage. They oftentimes proc for much more than that, but sake of the argument. Well, we can consider 10% progress towards that 1,000 damage burst as 100 damage. It's just cached, and it's not being cashed in immediately. It's something you have to work towards. If you view it like that, a Katana's R1 that does, say, 270 damage is now doing 100 cold damage, 100 bleed damage. You just need to work it in, work it up to that point. But if you look at it that way, then it's doing, like, in the ballpark of 400 or 500 per R1, after accounting for the status effect damage. So regular R1s way outpace the damage of the Mortal Blade, even if you're doing constant charged attacks. The deflects are super clutch sometimes, but just killing the boss is more clutch, you know? And his ultimate is not good at all for fighting bosses. In fact, it is an active detriment. My of my last 22 wins, like 17 of them have been against the new gaping jaw night enhanced boss. My favorite thing is watching an executioner transform into their ultimate form, and then the gaping jaw does like one slam attack with an AoE follow up, and he just like immediately blows up because it just makes it easier to get hit, and there's really no defense for the form, and the damage is not as good as just R1ing with the katana and building statuses. It does have two uses, though, two incredibly good uses. One is quickly AoE clearing out like 8 guys in early game when you're running through a castle. Super strong there. You just pop into it, shout like 3 or 4 times, and there you go. You just cleared out like 9 guys in a few seconds. It's also really good early game as just a heal. That is the most effective way to use his ultimate. You just pop into it, pop out of it, and you just scanned yourself a full health bar. The Raider is definitely stronger than the Executioner because the Raider is taking the single most effective way to play base Elden Ring, big weapon, spam jump heavies to abuse poise, and he is just that, the character. His normal ability where he's punching things, it sucks. It's frankly one of the worst abilities in the entire game. Like, it does okay damage and whatever, but like, why would you not just do another jump attack? It does more damage and stagger damage. It's just, I don't know. It's usable. It's just not better than what you could be doing regardless. His ultimate is fantastic, however. And yeah, there's really nothing else to say. Colossal weapons are super strong. This character, I will say, benefits almost more than every other character in the game from relics. For example, this guy can abuse the 15% damage increase for 10 seconds after taking damage more than any other character in the game. He can abuse initial standard attack more than any other character. So if you don't know, initial standard attack is plus 13% damage on the first R1. Well, colossal weapons tend to only get one R1 to begin with. So you just stack 3 of those. That's 39% damage plus 15% from poising through attacks. And that's before you get into anything else. The Evergold damage stacking, the regular damage buff from weapons stacking, just anything else. I have had Godfrey's Axe on this guy with an AR over 400, which is just insane. It is absolutely ridiculous, the damage values this guy can get to. Wilder is overall the best, in my opinion, at the John Elden Ring style, because his affinity for greatswords is really fucking nice, because the best legendary in the entire game is the Scion's Grafted Sword, which is, you know, he's got, like, part affinity for it. The ultimate he has is just straight up one of the best in the entire game. It is better than almost everyone else's other than, like, Iron Eyes, because it almost guarantees a stagger, does a ton of damage, has a huge AoE, it can clear out early camps, it could stagger bosses, putting them in a stun lock loop. The zip line is pretty terrible in a fight, but as a movement tool, it is the best in the game, especially because you can jump at the end of it to effectively double its duration. And moving quicker in this game is the most important thing, because faster you move, more camps you clear, more drops you get, more levels and buffs you stack. There's really let's put it this way. This guy embodies everything about Souls games. If you just want to play a chill run of, I just don't want to do anything out of the ordinary, I just want to play Dark Souls, this is the guy. And he's really good at that. Oh yeah, something I forgot to talk about. With the Executioner, it is really important that you get a relic with Chilling Mist on starting armament. Because every character in this game, despite what the numbers will tell you, thank you, Zuli the Witch, every character in this game has a flat arcane amount. And Executioner has double the arcane of everyone else, just at a baseline. Which means he builds statuses like twice as fast as everyone else. So Chilling Mist means his starting weapon does bleed and it does frost. Those are the best status effects in the game by a huge margin. And, well, this means his best play style is literally just stick with his starting weapon, which is really nice because it means he's entirely consistent. You only need to do one mine shaft, which takes like 2 minutes, to guarantee a purple weapon. You can guarantee a purple weapon on this guy literally within the first fucking minute and a half of a run. And you can guarantee that weapon's going to out DPS just about everything short of the Scion's Greatsword. So that's really nice and consistent. Really, he is the best character if you just want to play with an agile R1 spam, like basically straight sword Dark Souls 2 style gameplay. All right, let's talk about the Duchess next, because the Duchess is one of those characters where I could see. Basically, let's put it this way. The Duchess and Guardian swap places depending on skill level. Because the Duchess is absolute hot garbage if you're not, like, relatively good at Souls games. She also kind of is dependent on Relic RNG as well, which is sad, but I digress. So she's another character, just like Executioner, where you kind of really need her starting armament to have Bleed and her starting armament to have Chilling Mist because of Reprise. Reprise is so much better than people think because it's not just snapshot the damage over the last 3 seconds and reapply it. It's snapshot every attack that's been done in the last 3 seconds and reapply it. And the reason why that's super important is because that also means all of your status effects are getting reapplied every attack. So you do a dagger combo, you do a full dagger combo, proc the relic that redoes, at the end of a dagger combo, it reprises damage. And then you just also, you can either let that proc the status effect if you know it's going to happen, or if you just started trying to build up statuses, you can just reprise again and guarantee the statuses. Also, her ultimate is fucking abysmal dog shit. Her ultimate is, like, one of the worst, but it also has its moments as one of the best, even in solo. So her ultimate is just like Executioner's in that it gets worse the longer the game goes on. Early on, you can pop her ultimate at like a level 1 Evergoal, and you can just like chain backstab the guy if you get someone like that, and then just reprise like 2 backstabs, and there you go. You basically just killed him in like 5 seconds. Yeah, I don't really think there's anything else to talk about with the Duchess. She's very skill intensive, but definitely has the highest potential DPS in the game, which is like the most important thing when you don't have to worry about dying anymore because you're super familiar with the bosses. This dude needs like an SS++ tier. Like, this dude is ridiculously good. He is so much better than every other character that Triple Iron Eye is, for 90% of the people playing this game, just going to be the best setup. So where to even begin with this guy? Bows in Night Rain are completely broken. They do just about the same damage as like a greatsword. They do like 2-handed weapon damage, which is absurd. They do not have to deal with any of the bullshit. Enemies flying around, jumping on the other side of the screen, dragons keeping their heads lifted out of melee range. All of the annoying, stupid bullshit that Elden Ring bosses tend to do, you just completely subvert all of it. Gaping Jaw does a running attack where he runs out of your range and you've got to sprint over to him and give up 70% of your stamina so you could only fit in one R1. Nah, dude, Iron Eye just sits there and plinks away at him. The Mark means he does more stagger and more flat damage than literally every other character other than occasionally the Raider and the Duchess if she's like getting really lucky with being able to just attack freely for 3 seconds. Because you just throw the mark on, you just plink away with R1s, and once the mark pops, you do more stagger damage than everyone else, and you do more flat damage than everyone else. By the way, if you want to know what the best comp is, it's Iron Eye, Duchess, literally just because you put the mark on with the Iron Eye, everybody pops the mark, and then the Duchesses double reprise that. So you're getting 3 mark effects plus like 4 instances of the status build up happening. So you'll like double proc bleed, and like it's like ridiculous. It leads to some really goofy combinations where you can nuke some of the Night Lords in like about 10, 12 seconds flat. It's pretty dumb. Anyway, his ability also has iframes. It has like triple the iframes of a roll. So like, oh, he also has a relic that lets him have 1 extra use of his character skill, which is insane. Especially in solo, it's legitimately game breaking because 1 extra use means you always have it on hand as a dodge, and oftentimes you'll just use his ability, do a R1 attack, like a heavy scatter shot attack, and then, roll their attack, do another scatter shot attack, pop the mark, do the ability, they stand up, do it again, then they'll probably try to do some like crazy AoE attack, and you'll do it again, and just iframes through it. It's ridiculous. His ultimate is the best in the game by a large margin because it goes through walls. The AoE's gigantic. You can just, like, for example, go into the Abductor Virgin Castle and just shoot his ultimate. You'll kill like 7 guys immediately and half health the Abductor Virgin. It's absurd. Place the mark on the Virgin and then do it, and you'll just straight up kill it. This dude is the only character in the game that can clear camps that he's not even at. He can just run up to a camp, fire his ult through the middle, and like half the camp dies and the boss takes a bunch of damage. It's just absolutely ridiculous. If you don't believe me, do some testing. Just say, okay, I don't particularly care about this run, so I'm just going to test some stuff out. Every time you get his ultimate up, just try to look for a position in camps where you can just fire it to just kill a bunch of people. I promise you, they exist for every single camp. You can kill most of a camp's population just by shooting his ult. If you want to kill everyone, you just grab everyone's aggro, walk them towards the boss, and shoot it in. It cannot be understated how important that is for his rune gathering. I have consistently ended my runs with this character, even without Swarm of Locusts, with 800,000 to 700,000 runes collected. I cannot say that about any other character in the entire game. I remember one time I got Plague of Locusts on this guy on night 1, and I had a 1.4 million rune run. It was ridiculous. I got to day 3 at level 15 with like 400,000 runes in the bank. I was like, this is insane. So, bows are arguably the best weapon class because they never have to stop outputting damage, and they do the same damage as most great weapons. The mark further juices his damage and gives him the ability to dodge anything. His ultimate gives him the ability to never have to worry about taking damage, on top of dealing a shit ton of damage and stagger damage, and popping the mark, which deals a shit ton of damage in its own right, and stagger damage. Like, no, seriously, the bossing loop on this character is absurd. You mark, you do like an R1 shotgun blast for like 700 damage, immediately go into the ultimate for another 700 damage, and then you like mark again, and then you do the critical attack for like another 700 damage. The critical attack will basically pop the mark again for another 700 damage, and anything short of a day 2 field boss is basically dead off that loop immediately. This is the only character in the game that like can consistently just walk up to virtually anything. Evergoal boss, day 1 field boss, camp boss, and kill it in under 10 seconds. With absolute consistency. They don't even get a single attack off. Is there any closing notes I'd like to have about any of the characters? Not really. I think I said just about everything. Okay. I'm pretty interested to hear what other people have to say about this, because I imagine this list just dramatically changes depending on if you're playing with random people or, skill level. There's plenty of factors. So I'm definitely interested in hearing what other people have come to think about this.